Back to the Broker's Voice. Actually, I just started that too early. Welcome back to the Broker's Voice. It is Wednesday or Tuesday. I am out of sorts. Tuesday, December 13th. We normally do these on Wednesdays, but it is a short week for me as I have to head to Nashville. But I'm excited today. This gentleman not only was willing to come on short notice, he was on my plan for early January, but Patrick Moore was kind enough to come on. Patrick Moore with AXIM Fringe Benefits. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate for having me on. I'm just happy it worked out. The time fit. I've already been through the ringer this morning. I've been through the 4 horsemen of benefits, is what I would say.
Wait,
now I got to know. I've been on a strategy call this morning. I've been on a sales call this morning, and I've been on an open enrollment call this morning. And now I count this as marketing, so that'd be the 4.
I would say now you're on a podcast or an interview.
There you go.
Yeah. And I also look at it as a form of public speaking, so it's good.
There you go.
Well, Patrick, I know a lot of people know you in the industry. I first saw you, by the way, with your content. And when you started posting stuff on LinkedIn about your military career and things like that, I was like, who the hell is this guy? This guy's got good writing skills. And so let's just start there. For the few people in the industry who don't know you, who you are, just who is Patrick Moore? And we're going to start with your military background as well. So who are you? Where are you from? Let's start there.
Yeah. I am grew up in a town called Antioch, Illinois. And that is the northern suburbs of Chicago. So, grew up a 90s Chicago kid. And so there we go.
Oh,
That fits in Mr. Michael Jordan in the background. And man, so I joined the Marine Corps like most people join the Marine Corps, 18 years old, and you don't know shit about Shinola. And joined the Marine Corps really just I didn't have a great plan for it. I was always a good student, and the idea of just going straight from high school to college, that was not the thing I wanted to do. And so I joined the Marine Corps on August 17th of 2001. So 3 weeks later, 9/11 happens, and that kind of wrote the rest of my history. And definitely changed the way, my young adulthood was going to roll, is what I would say.
How quickly now my first ignorant question, and I'm going to apologize before asking because I probably should know the answer. I'm guessing you did serve time overseas?
I did. Yep.
And did you see time in action?
Yeah. So my career is different. I joined the reserves. My straight contract of joining the reserves. Which, you joined August of 2001, you joined the reserves, you're going to go through some things. It was going to be a challenge. It was not what I signed up for. Right. But, I essentially spent my 20s, going to college, going to Iraq, going to college, going to Iraq, going to college, going to Iraq. That was kind of the flow of my 20s, wow. Which provides for an interesting upbringing. Kind of hard to develop a corporate career, right? When you're going back and forth. My first major combat deployment was to Iraq in 2004. And we were in the area of Iraq called the Triangle of Death with 2nd Battalion, 24th Marines. Like if you've ever seen, what is that? What is the book with, or not the book, but the movie where they're laundering weapons and funny enough, it's a government contracting weapons deal. Anyways, and they roll through the Triangle of Death. It gets me cracking up every time.
Well, and I think of, somebody like a Jocko Willink, and I've read his book, Extreme Leadership, and he talks about his time where they were in Ramadi, which was, was Ramadi part of the Triangle of Death?
No, that was, and I won't ever say this in front of him, but I'll say it now because he's not here. He's a boot. He got there way after I did. 2006 is kind of when he was in Ramadi doing that. Ramadi was up farther northwest than when we were at. But 2004 is right around the time of Fallujah. So that was the big movement that caused a lot of casualties for us.
Not ever meeting you in person. I know we thought we were going to have a chance in Rhode Island, and it didn't happen. Whenever I think about somebody like you, just with that military background, the first word that comes to mind is discipline. Were you always a disciplined kid, like growing up, or did the military have a big impact on that discipline?
Great question. No, I was not a disciplined person necessarily. I would definitely tell you the military and the Marine Corps specifically, that was a huge benefit for me.
Okay.
It definitely framed me into a more disciplined, more serious person. I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy most of the time. So no, I mean the military definitely gave me that characteristic.
Well, and I want to, on behalf of anybody who's going to be watching this, I want to thank you for your service because, reading the books I've read about the war and everything like that, I can only imagine what you saw firsthand that most of us will never, ever even have to deal with. My question is, knowing your background and not just serving in the military, but serving time overseas in one of the most violent parts of the world. How does a guy like you, so when did you get out of the military? And then how did you find yourself in the insurance industry?
Two really good questions. The beauty of being in the reserves is I've always been bipolar. It means I'm still in, Andy. So I actually just put in retirement paperwork. And I will be retiring very soon. It's in process. I put the retirement paperwork. I'll probably actually do the ceremony this summer. Yeah, so that means I've been in the Marine Corps for just about 22 years, and I'm still in. But how did I get into insurance? Completely by accident, just like everybody, right? Really, I came back from another deployment to Iraq in 2008. Legitimately August or October, like middle of October 2008. I have really terrible timing, is what I'm trying to tell you. The world fell apart, right? Like on my leave, where I'm just happy to be home, like seeing green grass again and not in the desert. The stock market tanks. Everything goes to shit. I had just graduated college before deploying, and there was job opportunities galore, like the world was your oyster type of a deal, right? Yeah, the world ended. And so the only person that was hiring at that time was a little company called Hewitt Associates. And they were hiring for open enrollment call center employees. And that is what I did.
Wow. So you got your feet wet on the phone.
100%.
Wow. So what was your first, I'd love to know this answer because I remember when I got in the industry back in 01, 02, I was thrown into the bullpen of an agency, and you sit there and you pick up the phone and smile and dial. What was that experience like coming in, and your job was essentially to be, I'm going to guess you're talking to employees as being part of an open enrollment call center. What was that experience like?
It was educational. You just realize how much people don't know about their benefits, and then kind of helped me learn the intricacies of all the details that could be involved. Yeah, I was supporting AT&T. Like I was talking to AT&T employees, telling them how to enroll in their benefits, deal with their 401k, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so it taught me a lot about how to talk to individuals about what's important to them. And then also realizing I didn't want to do that for very long too. Right. And so I immediately got out of that and did an MBA program. And, again, there was no one hiring. So I decided to use that time to further the education. So I got an MBA in finance. And funny enough, in the last week of that MBA, Hewitt Associates had a dinner at the college because it was all in the Chicagoland area, trying to hire new consultants to join their team. So I went from like the lows of Hewitt, which is the call center employee, and then I joined as like a consultant on one of the large market consulting houses. So they only worked with big Fortune 500 companies. It's like the smallest employer that I ever worked on when I was there was 4,000 lives.
Wow. Well, and I'm sure it gave you a good feel out of the gate to realize that, to your point, most consumers, and now we know this as employers, they don't know what they don't know when it comes to this stuff. And so I'm sure you spent that early experience that probably many in our industry didn't have, of literally being part of a call center, gave you some good feedback on, wow, this industry needs help. And so fast forward today, here you are at AXIM Fringe Benefits, and you are, working with Jim Campbell, by the way, who's also got a military career. I've said this when I first.
How we vibed, 100%. Yep.
I recognize you two are together. I'm like, dude, that is one company you do not want to piss off.
I love it.
Let's talk, because I think there's still a lot of people I've seen Jim at conferences over the years, but I'm guessing a lot of people don't even know what AXIM does specifically. So let's go into that. Who is AXIM Fringe Benefits and who do they serve?
Great question. Yeah, no, they're definitely confused because I was confused, man. And so it's easy for me to say it because I had to figure it out, right? We are in this benefits realm, right? So we kind of like, we fit in with everybody, and it's why people know of us, but don't completely understand us. But we only work in one niche, right? One niche, so to speak, which I think is it's been fun for me to be a part of it, because I think that's important. I think most brokers, most people in our industry try to like be everything to everyone, and it's why they can't be anything to anyone.
Yep.
Having a niche, I think, is very important. I think it's something most people in our industry need to think of, specifically the good ones, right? Like we want the good people in our industry to succeed. And so starting in a niche that can work is good. But I digress. What we are at AXIM is we deal with government contracting and government contractors. When you are, when you're the federal government, not everybody can work directly for the federal government. There's a lot of things they need to hire out, right? Mm-hmm. And when they hire out to different companies, and those companies then support the federal government in these contracting situations. We act as like the employee benefits and compliance arm of those companies. And so historically, what we've done is we've worked completely in the compliance realm, helping them support. Like say you get a contract, and the way I explain it is most people are essentially unions. They run like small union benefit plans, right? Where you get your dollar per hour, you get your salary, but you get $1 per hour for benefits, for Fringe benefits, which is where you get that name from, right? AXIM Fringe Solutions Group. And to manage those Fringe dollars is really one number. Like you can't miss below and you can't miss above, because if you miss below, you are paying extra taxes and losing revenue as in a company. And so you lose on your bottom line. And if you spend above it, you're spending more than you're given, which still takes away from your bottom line. So it automatically levitates the conversation of employee benefits to the C-suite, to the CEO, to the CFO, because they definitely see this as something that completely affects their profitability. And that is where we live and breathe, that whole world. So most people don't ever touch this world, but the brokers that do know us well.
When you say niche, my friend, you speak my love language, because you're right. Too many people in the industry don't niche. They think they can serve everybody. And what you said is spot on. When you think you serve everybody, you don't serve anybody. And so I'm going to ask the obvious question. You work with advisors, correct?
Yep.
Who is the ideal advisor for AXIM?
I'll give you the ideal advisor for AXIM and the ideal advisor for Pat Moore. And so historically we've worked with the big houses, right? We've worked with the big houses. They have most of the government contractors, and it's just a small select producers inside of those big houses. Most people don't play it. So we work with them. But for me, what I've done since I've been at AXIM is actually work with some of the smaller, more independent Health Rosetta style advisors and get them into the space. That's the ideal advisor for Pat Moore. What we want to do is help support them, help grow their business, and give them an unfair competitive advantage when it comes to dealing with the market. Like when we're as a dude that's worked for big houses but also been an independent guy, you walk in, it's tough to get a new client, right? As terrible as this industry is, it's still really hard to convince an HR director or CFO that your new shiny crazy way of thinking is going to be better than what they already have.
Yeah.
You don't have the the relevance in their mind to pull that off, which is your entire business model, Andy, is getting people to put themselves out to really show that relevance.
Yep.
Regardless, it's hard. And so what we do is we come in and speak completely to their contracting language, completely to how they think for their business. And we're not really talking about benefits. What we're doing is we're talking about how they can show themselves to be more competitive to win more contracts in the future. So we're a direct arm of how they grow and how they make money.
So the ideal client, the ideal advisor probably has a book of business where they have GovCon business within it, who are going out and seeking those kind of contracts.
Yeah, no, they are. Or like I said, the other way is I'd rather have someone that has nothing, but that has a good heart and wants to do the right thing.
Want to go win that.
Help build their business.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that, because you're right. It's a space I think very few know about. We have a client, for example, that's an agency just outside of Washington, D.C. Ton of GovCon.
There you go.
When you're in that market. And so I see where this could be such an ideal fit, whether you have the book already, or like you said, you want to go win business in that niche. This is a great solution. So let's talk about you've got Maximize 2023 coming up in San Antonio in early April. Let's talk about that. What is it, and who would be the perfect attendee for it?
So Maximize is going to be the first GovCon centric contracting event that's really ever been put on. It got inspired by the Health Rosetta Conference late last year, where we realized there was just nothing like this for the GovCon industry. And so there's definitely going to be an element of benefits involved in what we're doing, but it's really for government contractors. We have a select amount of brokers that we're going to invite, obviously people that work with us currently, and then select brokers that we think will fit the mold going forward to work with us. But it's where you learn this niche. It's where you learn if this niche is something you want to sink your teeth into. And so for any of the advisors that are working with you, Andy, or following your stuff, this is a place they get to come and really deep dive in we call it a niche. There's $80 billion in premium in this niche. It's a ginormous niche that we couldn't even think to get the entire market up. But quite frankly, anytime that we're competing in this market, we can win.
Wow. So as far as attendees go, if I'm an advisor hearing this and I have GovCon in my book of business or want to really get in that niche, is there an application process? Where would I reach out to learn how I could register to attend the event?
Absolutely. Just go, Google AXIM, or go to aximfsg.com. You'll hit it and there'll be a landing page where you can log in and sign up to join the event and get booked up.
I'm going to actually do this. Your email address is AXIM FSG?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to put it up. I want to make sure this is correct. Is this right?
You nailed it. LinkedIn awesome. Too. Hit me there. I'm on it way more than I should be.
We all are, right?
Yep.
If you know Patrick or connected to him on LinkedIn, number one, if you're not connected with him, number two, his email address is right below my screen here. So feel free to reach out. If you're an advisor who has a book of business that has a bunch of GovCon employers in it, or you want to get in that space, this Maximize 2023, I think, is going to be a great fit for you. It's April 3rd through 5th in San Antonio. My last question, Patrick, comes back to you. And when you look at your career, military and insurance, what role has your experience in the military? What impact has your experience in the military had on what you do today at AXIM? What lessons has it taught you?
Pretty much everything, Andy. The role that I am in this industry currently, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Marine Corps. Just because the Marine Corps forces you to only want to serve and forces you to only do the right thing. I'm just not even allowed to think any differently. And I was in an industry that was not the right thing, right? There's so many things wrong with the traditional healthcare industry and the insurance mechanism that supports it. And just everything was wrong. And so what I'm doing now is just everything the Marine Corps taught me, but I'm focused on health insurance.
That's awesome. Like I said, we've never actually met in person. And even before we connected virtually, just knowing your background, I can immediately make an assumption that this dude has discipline. He's willing to put in the work when no one's looking. And those are all traits. I know it sounds almost easy, but that service component is often lacking in our industry, and going the extra mile. But knowing your background, knowing Jim's background, I definitely know that's not an issue at AXIM.
100%. working not enough is not something we do. But I want to switch this on it. Thank you so much for having me, brother. I really appreciate it. I think what you're doing is something more advisors need to do. My entire world changed when I decided to invest in marketing and invest in myself. Like, this marketing piece is the thing that no one in our industry does. You know, we do sales, we do the cold calling. You got to do those type of things. Everyone wants to be the smartest person in the room. If they don't know you, you know, they're never going to work.
I appreciate you saying that, because, you know, what we really do is create brand recognition for people. And I think you need it today to win business. People ask us what we do and they immediately think marketing. And the two things I think of, Patrick, that have really come into play lately is, number one, we teach you how to be consistent. And if there's a secret ingredient to success today in business, it's consistency. And the second thing is, we have learned that when you have a plan, you're confident and consistently running, this job's fun. And there's far too many people in it right now for the wrong reasons. Might it be money, whatever, and they're not having fun. And you got to have fun with what you're doing. And I know, just looking at what you and Jim are doing right now and the rest of the team, you guys are having fun, man. This Maximize 2023, it's going to be a fun event. And that's what this gig is all about. It's not worth doing if you can't have fun.
I love it, man. I love it.
So,
we're buying the best coffee and the best liquor. It'll absolutely be fun.
Well, Patrick, I want to thank you, man. This has been awesome. For everybody else, like I said, if you are an advisor who has a book of business with some GovCon business in it, government contracting business, or you're in a market where it's very prevalent and you want to get in, Patrick and his team at AXIM is who you need to reach out to. So his email's right here. Get a hold of him. Get registered for Maximize. You're not going to regret it. So, Patrick, one more time, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, brother. I appreciate it, man. It's been fun.
For everybody else, get a plan, be consistent, have fun. So take care, guys.